The cafeteria was loud, metal trays clattering, the smell of greasy fries and tomato soup filling the air. But at the far end of the line, a young black boy stood frozen, clutching his tray. He had only one small meal for the day, just enough to quiet the hunger gnawing inside his stomach. That's when he saw them. An elderly couple, their clothes worn thin, their eyes tired. They stood by the corner table whispering, pretending not to notice the food they couldn't afford. The boy's throat tightened. His belly growled, but his hands moved before his mind could stop him. He walked over, placed the tray in front of them, and forced a smile. Gasps rippled through the cafeteria. Some students laughed, others shook their heads. And the couple? Tears welled in their eyes as they whispered a shaky, "Thank you." The boy walked away, empty-handed, his hunger deeper than before. His classmates mocked him. Stupid! He gave away his only meal. But what none of them knew was that this single act of sacrifice would set off a chain of events that no one, least of all him, could have imagined, because the very next day, a millionaire would knock on his door. The boy's name was Malik, 12 years old. Skinny frame, patched-up sneakers that had walked too many miles, and a backpack that seemed heavier than his whole body. He lived with his mother in a tiny apartment on the poorer side of town, a place where the peeling paint on the walls told stories of years gone by, and the humming refrigerator often stood empty. His mother, Angela, worked 2 jobs, day shift at the diner, night shift cleaning offices downtown. She always said, "We may not have much, baby, but we've got dignity. And dignity means never letting kindness die." Those words lived in Malik's heart, even on the days when his stomach rumbled louder than his voice. At school, Malik blended into the background. Teachers rarely noticed him unless he raised his hand, and even then, sometimes his voice was drowned out by louder, more privileged classmates. Some kids mocked his hand-me-down clothes, whispering, "Thrift store boy," under their breath. He learned to ignore it, though sometimes the words cut deeper than he let on. That day in the cafeteria, when he gave up his meal for the elderly couple, it wasn't the first time Malik had chosen others over himself. A week earlier, he had slipped part of his lunch to a homeless man who slept near the bus stop. But this time, the cost was heavier. His classmates' laughter followed him all day like an echo he couldn't escape. The elderly pair he helped were named Mr. and Mrs. Thompson. They used to run a small bookstore downtown, one of those cozy shops where the smell of old paper and coffee beans clung to every corner. But the pandemic had closed their doors forever, and with no savings, they now survived on scraps and charity. Malik didn't know their whole story. He just knew the way Mr. Thompson's hands trembled when he reached for food, and the way Mrs. Thompson's eyes glistened with both gratitude and shame. When Malik gave them his meal, they held each other's hands tightly, as if his small kindness had restored a piece of their lost dignity. But as Malik walked away, his stomach aching and his classmates' taunts stinging his ears, a question gnawed at him. Did I do the right thing? That night, Angela noticed Malik pushing around the small portion of rice and beans on his plate. "You didn't eat at school again?" she asked, her voice tired but sharp. Malik hesitated. He didn't want her to worry. Finally, he mumbled, "I gave it away." Angela stopped mid-bite, her fork clinking against the plate. "Gave it away? To whom?" "To an old couple," Malik whispered. "They looked hungry." Angela's eyes softened. She reached across the table, placing her rough, calloused hand over his. "Baby, you can't keep giving everything away." "You need strength too." Malik lowered his eyes. "But you always said dignity means not letting kindness die." Angela exhaled, a mix of pride and worry swirling in her chest. She couldn't argue. He was right. The next day, Malik's act of sacrifice was still the talk of the cafeteria. Some kids twisted the story, making him the butt of jokes. "Hey, Malik," one boy sneered. "Got any food for me today?" Another chimed in. "Guess he wants to be the cafeteria's charity case." Malik's cheeks burned, but he stayed silent. He wasn't ashamed of what he did, but he hated being mocked for it. Yet, in the corner of the room, one girl named Sophia watched quietly. She wasn't like the others. She admired Malik's courage but didn't say anything. Not yet. That afternoon, as Malik was leaving school, he noticed a sleek black car parked across the street. Its tinted windows made it impossible to see inside. He thought nothing of it, just another rich parent picking up their kid. But when he walked home, the same car slowly followed 2 blocks behind. He quickened his pace, heart pounding. Why is it following me? By the time he reached his apartment, the car was gone. Malik shook his head, telling himself he imagined it. But deep down, unease lingered. Across town, in a penthouse overlooking the city skyline, Victor Caldwell, a wealthy businessman, sat at his desk, scrolling through local news stories. He had built his empire on tech startups, but what really drove him wasn't just money. It was finding stories of resilience, of grit, of kindness that reminded him of his own humble beginnings. That night, a staff member handed him a short article from the community bulletin. Young boy gives away only meal to elderly couple in need. Victor leaned back in his leather chair, staring at the headline. Something stirred inside him. The boy's sacrifice felt too familiar, almost like a reflection of his own past. He made a decision. I need to meet him. Meanwhile, Malik lay awake in his small bed, staring at the cracks in the ceiling. His stomach growled, but his mind was somewhere else. He dreamed of becoming an architect someday, building homes that didn't leak, that didn't trap families in cycles of poverty. But every time he mentioned it, people laughed. Kids like you don't become architects, one teacher had once said bluntly. Maybe think of something more realistic. Malik never forgot those words. They sat in his chest like a weight. But still, he dreamed. The following morning, Malik opened his front door to head to school, and froze. A large envelope lay on the doormat. No name. No return address. He picked it up, heart racing, and tore it open. Inside was a single note. I know what you did. We need to talk. The note felt heavier than paper had any right to be. Malik tucked it into his backpack, his hands trembling. All day he couldn't focus. Equations on the chalkboard blurred. Words in his notebook turned into meaningless scribbles. I know what you did. We need to talk. Who wrote it? A bully trying to mess with him? The Thompsons? Or someone else entirely? At lunch, Sophia caught him staring at the folded note. What's that? She asked softly. Malik hesitated, then quickly stuffed it deeper into his bag. Nothing. Just homework. But her eyes lingered, suspicious. That evening, Malik sat at the tiny kitchen table, the note spread flat between him and Angela. A single light bulb hummed overhead, casting shadows across their tired faces. Angela frowned as she read the words. We need to talk. Baby, this doesn't sound right. Could be trouble. Malik bit his lip. But what if it's not? What if... Is it something good? Angela leaned back, arms folded. In this world, good doesn't just knock on our door. You be careful. Her voice trembled, though she tried to hide it. She knew the world could be crueler to boys like Malik. Later that night, Malik tossed in bed, unable to sleep. Just when his eyes finally began to close, a sound jolted him awake. Soft footsteps outside the window. He held his breath. Shadows moved across the thin curtain. Someone was out there. The next second, a car door shut quietly, and an engine roared to life. Malik rushed to the window in time to see the same sleek black car pulling away. His pulse thundered. Whoever left the note was watching. The next afternoon, Malik stopped by the Thompsons' corner. Mrs. Thompson held out a small paper bag. We saved this for you, she said, smiling weakly. Just a sandwich. But we couldn't let you keep giving without taking something back. Malik's throat tightened. You don't have to... But Mr. Thompson interrupted firmly. Son, kindness isn't just about giving. It's about letting others share in it too. Malik took the bag, feeling the weight of more than just food. It was dignity passed back to him. As he walked away, a voice called from behind. Hey, charity case! Begging from old people now? It was one of the boys from school, laughter echoing from his friends. Malik clenched his fists but said nothing. He had learned that silence sometimes spoke louder than words. Still, inside, shame burned. Meanwhile, across town, Victor Caldwell stood by his office window, watching the city lights. A private investigator had just finished his report. Kid's name is Malik Johnson. Lives with his mother. Father is not in the picture. Quiet at school, but teachers say he's bright. Real bright. Victor nodded slowly, fingers steepled beneath his chin. And the couple? They're struggling. But they confirmed the story. The boy gave away his meal without hesitation. Victor turned, eyes hardening with resolve. Prepare the car. Tomorrow I want to meet him. The following morning, Malik was halfway to school when the black car pulled up beside him. The window rolled down and a man in a crisp suit leaned out. Malik Johnson? He asked, his voice deep, deliberate. Malik froze. Yeah? The man extended a business card. Victor Caldwell, CEO. My boss would like to speak with you. Malik's heart hammered. He glanced at the busy street, the card trembling in his hands. Should he trust this? Or was it some cruel trick? The driver added calmly. You've done something extraordinary, son. Don't be afraid. Malik swallowed hard. Every instinct told him to run, but curiosity rooted him to the ground. That night, Malik told Angela about the encounter. She sat silently, gripping her coffee mug. A millionaire wants to meet my 12-year-old son. No, absolutely not. But, Mom, Malik started. Angela cut him off. We don't know these people. For all we know, it's a scam. Her voice cracked, fear slipping through her strong exterior. She had sacrificed everything to keep Malik safe, and now strangers were circling like hawks. Malik lowered his head, but the spark in his chest refused to die. What if this is my chance? The following day, Malik found a second note slipped into his locker. This one was typed. Opportunities don't wait forever. Trust your heart. His hands shook as he read it. He looked around the hallway. Was someone watching him right now? Sophia stepped up beside him, lowering her voice. Malik, I know something's going on. Please tell me, he hesitated, then whispered the truth. Her eyes widened, not with fear, but excitement. Malik, what if this is real? What if this man can help you? Her words lit a fire inside him. For the first time, someone his age didn't mock him. They believed in him. That evening, as Angela scrubbed dishes, Malik approached her cautiously. Mom, he said, voice steady, I want to meet him. Just once. If it's bad, we walk away. But what if it's good? Angela's hand stilled in the soapy water. She turned slowly, eyes glistening. And what if it changes everything? The silence stretched. Finally, she sighed. All right, but I'm going with you. Malik's chest surged with hope. But outside the apartment window, headlights flickered once, then vanished into the night. Someone was already waiting. The black car waited at the curb, its sleek frame gleaming beneath the streetlight. Malik stood frozen on the sidewalk, his mother's hand gripping his shoulder so tightly it almost hurt. The rear window rolled down. A man with silver-streaked hair and sharp eyes leaned forward. His suit looked like it cost more than their entire apartment. Yet his voice was gentle. Malik Johnson? Malik swallowed hard. Yes, sir. I'm Victor Caldwell. Please get in. I've been waiting to meet you. Angela stepped forward immediately. My son isn't going anywhere with strangers. Victor nodded respectfully. Then you come too, Miss Johnson. This is not a trick. I only wish to talk. The driver opened the door. Angela hesitated, eyes narrowing. Malik looked up at her, a silent plea in his gaze. She sighed, heart pounding, and together they slid into the car. The interior smelled of leather and cedar. City lights blurred past the tinted windows. Silence thickened the air until Malik couldn't bear it. Why me? He blurted. Victor's eyes softened. Because kindness like yours is rare. And because once I was you, Angela frowned. What's that supposed to mean? Victor leaned back, voice dropping lower. I grew up in the projects. Hungry. Invisible. One day, I gave away my last piece of bread to a neighbor who was worse off than I was. Everyone mocked me, called me weak. But that moment changed my life. A teacher noticed. She fought for me. She opened doors I never thought existed. Without her, I wouldn't be here. His words hung heavy in the air. The car slowed to a stop, not at a mansion, as Malik expected, but in front of a downtown community center. Children laughed inside. Basketballs thumped against hardwood floors. Victor gestured toward the entrance. "Come with me." Angela tightened her grip on Malik's hand, but they followed. Inside, the walls were lined with photos, kids graduating, cutting ribbons, smiling with certificates. Malik's eyes widened. Victor spoke quietly. "This is my foundation. I built it for kids who remind me of myself. Kids like you." Victor stopped before a framed photograph on the wall. A young boy, barefoot, holding a half-eaten sandwich, stood smiling at the camera. "That was me," Victor said. "And the woman who believed in me was Mrs. Thompson," Malik gasped. "The Thompsons? The couple I gave my food to?" Victor nodded slowly. "They gave me hope when I had none, and you gave it back to them when they thought the world had forgotten them." Angela's hand flew to her mouth. Malik felt his knees weaken. Victor turned, his voice trembling with emotion. "When I heard what you did, I knew it wasn't a coincidence. It was a circle. What they gave me, you returned, and now it's my turn." He reached into his briefcase and pulled out a thick envelope. He placed it in Angela's hands. "This is for rent, for groceries, for breathing room." Angela shook her head, tears streaming. "We can't accept this." Victor's tone sharpened. "You can, because this isn't charity, it's investment. In your son, in his future." He turned to Malik. "You want to be an architect, don't you?" Malik's eyes widened. "How did you—" Victor smiled faintly. "I asked your teacher." Malik's heart thudded. No one had ever taken his dream seriously before. But before hope could fully take root, the gym doors burst open. A cluster of Malik's classmates stumbled inside. They had been at a nearby game. They followed out of curiosity when they saw Malik enter the building. "There he is!" one of them shouted. "Charity boy hanging with rich people now." Laughter exploded. Angela's face flushed with anger. She moved to shield Malik, but Victor raised a hand. "Let them watch," he said coldly. He turned toward the boys, his voice cutting like steel. "Do you mock him for kindness? You should be ashamed. This child has more courage in his little finger than all of you combined." The room went silent. The boys' smirks faded under Victor's piercing stare. Victor knelt in front of Malik, ignoring the others. His voice softened again. "I want to sponsor your education, Malik. Every book, every class, every step until you walk across the stage as the man you dream of being." Malik's breath caught. His vision blurred with tears. Angela whispered almost to herself, "Is this real?" Victor looked at her, eyes steady. "It's as real as the hunger you both have lived through. But hunger doesn't have to define him. Hope can." Malik's heart pounded. Could he believe this? Could one act of kindness really change everything? He glanced at the Thompsons' photograph again. He thought of their trembling hands, their grateful eyes. He thought of his mother's weary face, Sophia's encouragement, the mocking laughter of his classmates, and then, slowly, he nodded. "Yes," he whispered. "I'll do it." Victor's smile was slight but radiant. "Then tomorrow, Malik, your journey begins." The next morning, the Johnson apartment felt different. The peeling paint was the same. The fridge still rattled in the corner. But hope. Hope filled the air like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. Angela sat at the table, staring at the envelope Victor had left. Rent money, grocery money, breathing room. For the first time in years, she didn't have to choose between electricity and dinner. Tears slipped down her cheeks as she whispered, "Thank you, God." Malik watched quietly. Then he hugged her from behind. "Mom, we're going to be okay." By the end of the week, word had spread across the neighborhood. A millionaire had noticed the boy who had given away his only meal. Some classmates looked at him differently now, curious, even envious. But Malik didn't gloat. He still sat at the same cafeteria table, still wore his worn sneakers, still carried the same patched backpack. Sophia slid onto the bench beside him. "So, millionaire, huh?" she teased, grinning. Malik shrugged, embarrassed. "I'm still me." Her smile softened. "Yeah, but now the world sees you." 2 days later, Malik insisted on visiting the Thompsons. They were sitting on their usual corner bench when he arrived, clutching a small grocery bag in his hands. "Malik!" Mrs. Thompson exclaimed, her eyes lighting up. He handed them the bag, fresh bread, fruit, and a few canned goods. "This is for you. From us." Mr. Thompson's voice broke as he said, Son, you've done more for us than you'll ever know. Malik shook his head. You did it first for Mr. Caldwell, and look what came from it. Maybe kindness really does reanalyze. Mrs. Thompson dabbed her eyes. Full circle, baby. Full circle. That evening, Angela walked home from her night shift early for the first time in months. No more double shifts. No more collapsing into bed with aching bones before dawn. She opened the apartment door and found Malik bent over his schoolwork, drawing rough sketches of buildings. Architecture, huh? She said softly. Malik looked up, startled, then smiled shyly. One day, Mom, I'll build something that lasts, something that makes people feel safe. Angela kissed the top of his head, and I'll be right there when you do. The following week, Malik was invited back to the community center. This time, he wasn't just a guest. He was the focus of the evening. Victor introduced him to a crowd of kids, parents, and teachers. This young man reminded me what true courage looks like. He sacrificed when he had nothing to give. That's the kind of character the world needs. Applause thundered through the gym. Malik's heart pounded in his chest. For a moment, he felt like the whole world saw him, not as a charity case, but as someone who mattered. As the night wound down, Malik stood alone for a moment, staring at the smiling faces around him. He thought of the laughter in the cafeteria, the hunger in his stomach, the note that had changed everything. He whispered to himself, one meal, one choice, and everything changed. And deep inside, he knew his story wasn't just about luck. It was proof of what his mother always said. Dignity means never letting kindness die. Sometimes the world teaches us that power comes from money, status, or control. But Malik's story reminds us that absolute power can begin with something far smaller, something as simple as giving up a single meal. That one choice rippled outward. It touched two forgotten souls, rekindled their dignity, reached a millionaire who had once walked the same path, and in the end changed not just Malik's life, but his mother's, the Thompsons, and perhaps even the classmates who once mocked him. Because kindness works like that, it circles back. It lingers in places you least expect. It plants seeds that grow in silence until, one day, they bloom in ways that leave us breathless. And what about us? What if Malik had chosen differently? What if he had kept the tray for himself, ignoring the couple in the corner? No article would have been written. No millionaire would have come. The cycle would have ended right there, which leads to the fundamental question: what choices are we making in our own lives? Do we pause long enough to see the hungry eyes at the edges of the room? Do we give even when it costs us something? Because you never know. The kindness you show today could be the spark that lights someone's future tomorrow. So ask yourself, if this happened in your school, your workplace, your neighborhood, what would you do? Would you laugh with the crowd? Or would you be like Malik, daring to give even when it hurts? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Share this story with someone who needs to believe in the power of kindness again. And if you think like Malik, that dignity means never letting kindness die, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more stories that matter. Because in a world that too often forgets compassion, maybe one meal, one choice, one voice, yours, can change everything.